Denise Richards once made a vow that felt unbreakable. On national television, she looked straight into the camera and declared, "Even if we hate each other, I'm not gonna get divorced." It wasn't a joke. It was a full-on promise. To the world, the kind of bold, dramatic statement that sticks in your mind. But just 4 months later, her husband, Aaron Phypers, walked into court and filed for divorce. No warning, no press release, just a legal bombshell that left fans stunned and asking the same question. How do you go from forever to filing papers in 120 days? Because what looked like a strong, unbreakable bond may have been unraveling the whole time. And now, the cracks are being exposed. But this story isn't just about a failed marriage, it's about why it failed. And the haunting emotional baggage Denise brought into it from her past with Charlie Sheen. Let's unravel how a couple that once promised never still ended in a split, and why this may be just the beginning of something even messier. It was March 2025 when Denise Richards sat down on her reality show. Denise Richards and her Wild Things, and made the kind of statement most people wouldn't dare say out loud, let alone on camera. "Yeah, I'm never getting divorced again. Even if we hate each other, I'm not gonna get divorced." Her husband, Aaron Phypers, was sitting right beside her, half smiling, half grimacing, and while he tried to laugh it off with a comment like, "Then we'll just have separate houses or something," it didn't exactly sound like a couple. In total harmony. In that same scene, Denise even admitted she's not the easiest person to live with. "It's not easy being married to me," she said bluntly. Aaron's reply, "It is not." And she said it. Then came the line that slipped past a lot of viewers at the time. "But this is it. I'm done." At first glance, it all felt like playful banter between a fiery couple. But in hindsight, that moment hits different. It wasn't just a joke. It was a warning. And 4 months later, it all makes sense. So what went wrong after that bold, forever moment? The signs were subtle, but they were there. And what came next turned Denise's vow into a broken promise. Fast. Reality shows are built to entertain, not reveal the full truth. And Denise Richards and her Wild Things was no exception. But if you paid close attention, you'd notice the tension bleeding through the screen. The way Aaron looked at Denise during that never getting divorced scene wasn't exactly reassuring. His body language screamed discomfort. His words, "I'm done," might have been brushed off by some viewers as sarcasm. But to others, it felt like a quiet cry from a man who'd already made up his mind. Behind the witty one-liners and staged date nights, the cracks were forming. Denise might have been trying to project a picture of strength and commitment, but her own words gave her away. Saying things like, "Even if we hate each other," wasn't romantic, it was revealing. The couple also gave separate interviews. During that time, another red flag. In one of them, Denise talked about needing staycations just to reconnect. At first, it sounded sweet, but also like they were trying too hard. If things were solid, would they need to schedule one night a month to feel like a couple again? That doesn't scream stability, that screams survival mode, and while fans were buying into the love story, Aaron may have already been preparing for an exit, one that would blindside everyone, especially Denise, and then he pulled the trigger. On July 7, 2025, just 4 months after Denise's on-camera vow, Aaron Phypers filed for divorce. Quietly, no public statement, no joint Instagram post, just a cold official filing in Los Angeles County Court. According to the documents, Aaron listed their date of separation as July 4th, just 3 days earlier. The reason? The classic Hollywood escape clause, irreconcilable differences. But hidden in the paperwork were signs of a deeper fracture. Aaron wasn't just asking to end the marriage. He was requesting spousal support from Denise, despite her being the bigger star. And he made it very clear that he wanted to keep his personal assets, the power tools, the motorcycle, the sports car, things that sound small, but speak volumes. These aren't just material demands, they're territory lines, the kind that couples only draw when things get ugly behind closed doors. And while they didn't share any minor children, the breakup still came with emotional baggage. Aaron had reportedly been in the process of adopting Denise's daughter, Eloise, a deeply personal, intimate step. But now, it's unclear if that ever became official, or if the adoption was just another thing that quietly got left behind. No press conference, no "we remain friends" statement. Just a legal end to a love story that was supposed to last, at least according to Denise. But this divorce wasn't just about this marriage. For Denise, it was reopening a wound she'd fought hard to heal. Lost in the headlines about court filings and spousal support is a question that hits a lot deeper. What happens to Eloise? Denise's 14-year-old daughter, Eloise, wasn't Aaron's biological child, but over the years, he stepped into the father role. He was more than just a stepdad. he was in the process of formally adopting her. At least, that's what Denise had publicly shared. But here's the twist. There's no official record confirming the adoption was ever finalized. That silence speaks volumes, and it raises difficult questions. Did the split freeze the process? Was it already done behind the scenes, or quietly dropped as their relationship unraveled? For Eloise, this wasn't just the end of her mom's marriage. It could mean the loss of another parental figure, someone she called dad, someone she may have seen as permanent. And for Denise, a woman who's been fiercely protective of her kids, the emotional stakes of this divorce go far beyond property and court documents. It's not just about walking away from a husband, it's about untangling a bond that involved family, trust, and years of effort. The public might focus on the legal drama, but for Denise, this part might hurt the most. To understand why this split hit so hard, you have to look back at Denise Richards' history, because this isn't her first time navigating heartbreak under a microscope. In the early 2000s, Denise was married to Charlie Sheen, and when that relationship collapsed in flames, it wasn't just a personal crisis, it was a public spectacle. Accusations, tabloid wars, custody battles. Denise became a target for media judgment, painted as the problem, the difficult one, even when she was trying to protect her children from chaos. That experience left scars. She opened up about it, again during her reality show, recalling how she was vilified during her divorce from Sheen, how the public was quick to label her the villain, and how women like her, especially in Hollywood, often get tossed aside and silenced when their relationships fall apart. That's what makes her "never getting divorced again" line so loaded. It wasn't just a casual promise, it was a shield, something she used to protect herself from ever going through that kind of pain and public shame again. She didn't want another failed marriage. She didn't want the spotlight turning on her again. But now that Aaron's walked away, that shield is gone, and she's right back where she swore she'd never be. The question is, will she stay quiet this time, or will she fight back? In March, just months before the divorce bombshell, Denise Richards was everywhere, smiling in interviews, promoting her reality show, talking about romance and connection like her marriage was stronger than ever. She sat down with Interview magazine and shared her secret to keeping love alive: a once-a-month staycation. No kids, no distractions, just her and Aaron, making time for each other. Even if you don't have kids, she advised, you need that one night to reconnect as a couple. It sounded thoughtful, mature, like they were doing the work to protect their marriage from the burnout that destroys so many Hollywood relationships. But now, that advice feels less like wisdom and more like wishful thinking. Was it all just PR? Were they already drifting apart while telling the public everything was fine? Even more telling, Denise called Aaron her best friend. She said they didn't try to change each other and that their bond was built on deep respect. But if that were truly the case, why did Aaron walk away and request spousal support on the way out? The difference between what the public saw and what was happening behind closed doors is staggering, and fans are starting to piece it together. The smiles, the advice, the jokes about never divorcing. Now, all of it feels like a carefully crafted image, one that was already starting to crack long before the paperwork hit the court. But if the reality we saw wasn't real, what was? With no minor children to fight over and no joint businesses at stake, this divorce might seem, on paper, like a clean break. But emotionally, it's anything but. For Denise, this isn't just about losing a husband, it's about confronting the world again with a failed relationship she promised would last. And for someone who's been burned by public perception before, that's no small thing. So far, neither Denise nor Aaron has spoken publicly since the filing. No Instagram posts, no exclusive interviews, just silence. But that silence is louder than any press release. Fans are watching, waiting to see if Denise will address it on her show or if Aaron will share his side of the story. After all, that one line, "I'm done," might have seemed like a joke in March, but now it echoes like a final sentence. Some insiders believe this won't be the last twist, that more details about what led to the split could still surface, and possibly new layers of tension behind the scenes. And others wonder, will Denise finally break her silence, or use this heartbreak to fuel a whole new chapter of her reality, career? Because in Hollywood, pain doesn't always fade quietly. Sometimes it becomes the next season's storyline. Denise Richards once made a vow that felt unshakable. Even if we hate each other, I'm not gonna get divorced. It was bold, emotional, and raw. The kind of line that sticks in your head long after the cameras stop rolling. But in just 4 months, everything unraveled. Aaron Phypers Quiet filing didn't just end a 6-year marriage, it shattered the illusion of a bond that many believed could survive anything. And maybe that's the real story here. Not just a divorce, but the collapse of a promise made in public and broken in private. Behind the headlines, there's a woman dealing with another high-profile heartbreak. A daughter whose family just shifted again, and a public trying to decide what was real and what was reality TV. Is this the final chapter in Denise's love story, or just the start of something even more dramatic? Because in Hollywood, especially on reality TV, no story ever ends quietly.